Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Austin Game Developers Conference 2010. We're live here in Austin with my buddy Nathan Richardson.
Hi.
CCP, how are you, sir?
I'm doing great, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing very good. All right, let's just start talking about stuff. First of all, what do you...
You start?
Eve. Let's talk about some Eve stuff. He's pulling up questions. Look at him. He's like, what are we doing?
Yeah, bring it on.
Incarna.
Oh, yeah.
What's coming out? What's going on?
Well, the thing is that what you're seeing this November is actually the character creator coming out, and that's actually now out in public testing. So some of the aspects there is of creating a new character. That's the Carbon Incarna technology. So at least the part of starting it is now actually available, and there's quite a few videos on YouTube of people like recreating their characters, and it's pretty amazing actually.
I saw the screenshots and it looks fantastic. Just like, you know, the headshot models and stuff look unbelievable.
Yeah.
Because this is like the last thing for you guys to do an upgrade graphically on Eve, right?
Well, yeah, certainly in the short term is that we have the upgraded graphics engine. We certainly have individual things of the engine itself that we will improve. But full body avatars and all that technology, like the clothing. There's physics simulations in the clothing itself, so it's all pretty amazing tech happening there, which we're doing with NVIDIA. And I think that what's kind of also like scary with it is that the first screenshots that actually started like passing around the office internally were people recreating themselves to a scary level. It was like, you know, seeing Ben the art manager as an Eve character is like, whoa, there's something wrong with this.
So there's that much level of detail in the controls of...
Yeah. The thing is, well, I mean, I'm probably not everybody's going to be able to create themselves, and maybe he had some tweaks to actually achieve that point, but yeah, it's getting pretty impressive, and I think that you'll be able to make even more fun-looking characters.
So when this gets implemented, it's going to give everybody the chance to basically recreate their character look from scratch, right? It's not going to be taking over what their current avatar looks like at all.
No, that would have been a huge undertaking, and the thing is that simply based on feedback is that most people would, in general, recreate and move that far away from your current character, so that like getting us to the point of really being able to migrate it directly was too big. And the thing is that the fidelity and the more customization options in the clothing would simply limit the entire experience too much. So unfortunately, we can't.
But that's a good thing. I mean, there's so many more options now. You might as well, I mean,
absolutely.
With that amount of options, I'm sure you could take a portrait of your character right now and get pretty damn close back to what you were looking like, just in a lot higher quality manner.
Yeah, I mean, there's stylistic differences and there's higher fidelity in it all. But I think it can make my character look even more stupid. So.
So walking in stations, this is the first part of it, I guess. This is based on the same technology.
Yeah, this is the same technology, and I think that it'll give a good glimpse into what's actually coming up there in terms of technology and look and feel, because it's amazing to see it all come together, and you're actually starting creating those characters. I mean, I've been looking at working progress models and stuff like that for a long time, but it's never quite the same as seeing it on the test server in the engine and poking around with it, and I'm excited.
And when are we going to see the walking in stations? When does that come?
That's coming next year.
Next year, 2011.
Yeah. Well, the thing is that we're taking the same approach as we're doing with all other development of EVE Online. Is that we're taking it steps, and that's why you're seeing the character creator right now. Is that number one? I mean, we get the technology out in also the clients, and we also get to focus on one of the more important aspects of EVE, which is the character creator. People spend hours and hours in there. So focusing on getting that right in the first run, and then of course adding more and more.
Currently on test server, the character creator, is it fully? Is this all the options we're going to see?
No.
It's not.
No. This is largely tech based, and not so many options are in there in terms of clothing and stuff like that. But the thing is that you should be able to do quite a lot actually. But there's more.
Are we going to be able to do stuff with maybe tattoos and
maybe
moving stuff around?
Yeah, that basically comes down to like our art asset pipelines. So in terms of us getting out in November, it's simply a question of like a lot of these things when we will have the assets and the ability to do it. I mean, we've talked about tattoos and other kind of like body manipulations and stuff like that.
It'd be kind of cool if you have to go to the end of the player stations with walking-in stations and actually have to go to the body modification / tattoo shop and buy it from somebody.
So yeah, I mean, the thing is that at this point in time, it's not tech that's preventing us, because this is. I don't think you'll see anything like this anywhere else at this point in time. So.
What are the other big additions coming in Incarna?
Well, Incarna is still a pretty like open table in terms of what actually ends up being in the first iterations. But again, it's primarily thought about as a social space, which ties into a lot of the current things that are happening in EVE Online itself. It's supposed to be a complementary addition. It's not supposed to be a game within the game. I think that personally, I'm looking forward for gambling. I'd like to see people gambling their Titans away. I think that's a certain good experience of there. I would like to see, somehow reputation be reflected. And I think that also, long term, you'll see a lot of I call it housing in general, whether that's private housing or establishments or stuff like that. But
so a very big social push coming then for a lot of complementary social aspects of the game coming. That's where not so much focused on more modifications or ship upgrades or.
No. It's in terms of the full body avatars is basically that social venue which still connects to a lot of gameplay elements in the game. In space, that is. But yes, looking forward, I'd say basically now we have Incursion actually coming out now this winter, where we have a large PvE element, which is kind of like open PvE, where you group with other players simply and fight the evil Sancha clone babies. They're clones. That's what they are, and they're doing like incursions into Empire space, and players have to group together to actually fight them back out. And with that, we have actually some Sancha playable ships actually coming in there. And
Sancha playable ships coming.
Yeah.
Nice.
Those are the rewards. I mean, you shoot them up,
take their stuff.
Take their stuff.
All right, so we heard so much about it. Everybody got so excited, and I feel you guys been super quiet. You're wearing the shirt. What is up with Dust 514? We got to see the videos, and it was, that thing. Yeah, what about that? Yeah, you guys are really staying super quiet. What's going on with Dust?
So, I mean, we are super quiet with the stuff that we aren't quite out with. But in terms of we can be more open with a lot of the things that we're doing. But the nature of the beast is how we develop games is that we iterate that much, and the thing is that we adapt to change and try to react. And that's, for example, what we're doing now with a large part of the team in terms of more interaction with the stellar management and a lot of more taking in all the different feedback channels, and we have a dedicated team now looking at like large scale fleet battle performance, and that's been improving quite a lot, and then of course like simply taking that and scaling that further. So we do move teams back and forth between what we're doing, and right now we have 22 scrum teams working on EVE, and there's never been more people before doing that. So I mean, we are working on a wide aspect of things right now. But what's going to be more interesting is that if after the next couple of expansions, what we're going to see is that we have and we'll be entering a more of an iterative cycle where we're actually taking and revisiting and revitalizing a lot of the old game systems, which are already in there. Because the thing is that what EVE has, it really isn't that much more a requirement for new features, but much more going over all the stuff that's in there already, polishing, improving, making it better, making it deeper, making it easier to use, because some of them are pretty fucking arcane. But yeah, so yeah, it's kind of like moving more and more teams over simply to iterating on current systems.
So you diverted off my Dust 514 question
pretty
well. You didn't.
But I was going to get back to that. Is that basically? I mean, we're using the same methodologies with Dust 514.
So are a lot of the EVE revamping of the mechanics there also to integrate Dust 514 as well?
No, that's only happening on one aspect, which is basically on the planets. And that's the link between them. The pretty obvious link is that the mercenaries are fighting on the planets and the Air Force or the Navy is in the space. But there it's also the same thing, is that we have a very staged delivery approach an agile approach which has these, virtual slices of the game, and we take a look at what we have, and then we estimate it's like, okay, what's the most important thing that we can add to Dust at this point in time, and then we work and take this like 3 months at a time. So a lot of the things that we thought about first has changed, but I mean we're still looking at an FPS which has an RTS element to it and a very dynamic battlefield. So there's a lot of replayability in it, and of course the link between Dust and Eve basically means that every battle actually matters. There's context to it. There's an outcome.
Now, I mean, I don't know is there anything official? I don't know if anything's ever been released officially about what kind of a platform Dust was going to be released on?
No, we haven't.
Nothing at all.
It's going to be on console.
It's going to be on console.
Yeah.
And is it also going to be on PC, or probably? Or you're not saying?
No. So, well, the things that our goal is basically delivering the Eve experience on different platforms. Console being one of them, of course, and. I mean, we will be looking at more platforms than we already are, but there, I mean, we looked at the console and saying like, okay, we can't really be playing, Eve on a console, so we're looking at like how can we make a complementary experience to Eve with a more native, FPS like console experience, and even though a lot of us can't play, FPSs on console for shit. Because of simply, I mean, I grew up with playing
Pong.
I'm not that old yet.
I am.
Damn it.
I grew up on Pong.
I did as well. And imagine that was multiplayer.
I know.
What happened to the world? we all went into single player again.
What
but
the
yeah,
shit?
Yeah, but it's damn, where was I? What were we talking about?
I don't know. Cut you off. I don't know. Dust. Can we even remotely expect maybe to see some video footage in the next 6 months? Something maybe?
No.
No.
Oh.
All right.
Might. So it all depends on when we feel comfortable actually starting opening up, entering some form of alphas and private trials and stuff like that. A full video, actually, I mean, there is a lot of effort around creating a video because you're trying to take a game experience and condensing it into this short package. Unless, of course, it's going to be something more like a thematic trailer or stuff like that. And I think that we will have some more material, whether that be some form of in-game trailer or thematic or whatever. Yeah.
We've had a lot of conversations sitting here on the show for the past couple of days just about MMOs coming out and giving release dates way early and trying to hit marks.
Yeah.
And I kind of always say like I don't know why more companies don't take the CCP approach and just sort of like kind of stay quiet and say we'll release it when it's ready, because it seems like that's the death of all these other companies, is that they're they set some hard dates and they come out and they just blow and
yeah. So I'd say that there's two things that are actually happening there. Number one is that there still have been games that have been coming out, and it's not like they're all bad. That I wouldn't say that, but I'd say that there's two contributing factors here, which is first, of course, polished game, and secondly, I'd say that it's more down to the companies either not realizing or being forced in a position where they simply don't have the financial run rate to actually launch the game, and then realizing that launching is actually just the beginning for you. I mean, if you're only funded up to the point of being able to launch the game, you're going to fail no matter what.
Yep.
I mean,
APB.
Yeah. They still had a lot of money. I don't know. Well, anyways, so like looking at that point in time is that what we say internally is that, like, for example with Eve, is that the fun didn't really start till we actually launched the game, because that's basically when we start becoming a virtual universe where you're actually like driving it as a service forward, and you have this relationship between those that are playing the game and making the game, and looking forward to make it something greater over time. And if you can't survive those first 6 to 12 months of simply having the game there almost without any customers, that doesn't really matter.
Right.
So just can you
have
run
to
and
be able
operate
to survive, run and
12
operate.
months, yeah,
because you need that window to just reiterate, fix,
Absolutely.
update, see how the community responds to it.
Yeah. And alphas and betas aren't that huge enough opportunity to actually have that meaningful, because especially if you're going looking at like games that are doing microtransactions and stuff like that, that is a very difficult way to actually prove out without actually having people have to pay for it. So there's actually value behind it. So I mean, there's so many different factors that are playing in as that you should almost like expect not having revenue for 12 months, and
base your entire model on that.
A big retail bang, through stores is not going to save you either. There's no salvation point as such anymore.
So there's some other little game you guys are working on. I guess it's kind of official now. I don't know. It deals with some pasty white guys and hard abs, I think.
No sparkling at least.
No sparkling.
No.
Oh.
So we finally got to see our first look at World of Darkness on some flip cam with some guy's nice shiny bald head.
Everybody knows the guys, but yeah. Our marketing director said like the other day, like, next time we're going to show a video, we're going to get that guy up on stage and let's have him stand there with bald head.
That should be the first trailer for World of Darkness. It's just this guy's back of his head, and it's all. So you just had a big event down in New Orleans called the Grand Masquerade.
Yeah.
Which tell me a little bit about the event. What was it for? Why did you guys do it?
So I mean, the Grand Masquerade is much more about the large organizations which have been with the White Wolf World of Darkness for a long time, and it was basically the first time where many of them came together and they had a unified event. So it was much more about their yearly celebrations and their activity of live action coming together, and then of course we provided our input and facilitation into it. So it was basically the merging of us and those fan communities and live action communities, and really opening up the discussion and saying like this is the way we're going, and we are basing it on the Masquerade. So I think that was quite well received, but that's about to the extent that we are talking about it.
Okay.
That's to the extent?
That's the extent. He's like, I'm done.
He's like, and we're done talking about that.
Yeah.
Trailer's fantastic.
I can tell you that vampires have fangs and stuff like that. I mean, this.
Do
lore,
you know?
So the White Wolf World of Darkness lore has been out there for 20 years, and almost every vampire movie you see has elements that are coming from that. Not just the fact that they have fangs. I'm not saying that comes from White Wolf, but a lot of the lore and intricacies of how they operate and stuff like that is reflected in much of that material. So that's.
Do you know Atlanta has the largest vampire organization in the United States in Atlanta? Did you know that?
No,
you should hook up with them. Like the real life vampires. Like they believe they're real life vampires. They have the largest social organization hub is in Atlanta, like right in your backyard. So it's kind of pretty interesting.
Yeah. But then again, we're in Stone Mountain. We're not really in Atlanta.
You really what?
We're in Stone Mountain. We're not really in Atlanta.
Oh, but you're kind of close. Yeah, it's true.
It's a small private joke there. Sorry.
Can we expect M for mature?
Can we expect
M for mature?
No. Whoa, I'm not going close to answering any kind of these questions. No.
It's going to be as hardcore as Eve.
My basic answer should be like there's no such thing as vampires. But
do you like vampires?
Yeah, I love vampires.
Yeah.
But is it going to be hardcore?
Well, here I'll ask this question then, because I know you're not going to answer those questions anyway. So might as well let me try. Let me just go here. When I don't know what you want to call it, was it a merger, acquisition, whatever it was called between White Wolf and CCP? Was the Vampire the Masquerade World of Darkness franchise? Was that a really big factor in wanting to make that happen? Was it known right from the start that
it was the reason why we merged
that property, that IP, and you were just that's where we want to go with it?
So both of us like back then we were kind of. Thinking like where should we head next, but in all cases, and especially with us and White Wolf, that is old CCP and White Wolf. Then is that we didn't want to work on other companies' IPs or intellectual properties, because we were of the opinion that for really to a virtual world like that to develop and be able to actually have a timeline and move forward, you have to have so much control, if not full control. So what it ended up being is that we both said this to each other, but it was kind of like they wanted to get us on board to make the World of Darkness at that point in time, and we wanted to make the World of Darkness as well, and we hadn't decided what our next virtual world would be, because I mean we hadn't even thought about it as such. We were looking at like we have Eve, and we still have our hands full with Eve, of course, and it led to the point of kindred beings ended up marrying each other and trying to make new babies.
So maybe you can tell me this too, is like what's some like philosophy background of just CCP then? Maybe that is there anything like some sort of like internal philosophy about games that CCP makes that we can sort of expect across the spectrum without talking about anything specifically?
Again, and this is something you can apply to everything that we actually do, is that we as a company we are a sandbox oriented company. We like to create tools for players and for the players to actually become meaningful part of the world for the other players. They're not in the way, or they're contributing to the universe, and we believe in this social element of the game as well. It is a massively multiplayer game. It's not a massively single player game. And this kind of philosophy of sandbox and then taking into account all the social network elements, because the people in the game is a huge social network that forms over time, and that's the single world kind of philosophy that we have. So I'd say that our fundamental philosophy is marrying together, like the theme park elements, and the sandbox elements, which are like more. You can think about PvP, but it's wrong to say that sandbox is PvP, and the theme park is more like a World of Warcraft experience, but it's not saying it's a PvE experience at all. And then we're taking the third one, the social one, and we can almost imagine like those three spheres like merging over each other, and there's some kind of sexy intersections there, which actually make the magic happen. So that's kind of our philosophy for making games.
Are we ever going to? When do you think we'll ever get the World of Darkness cinematic in a nice full res without a shiny head? Never. Fantastic cinematic, by the way. Awesome work.
Thank you.
What else can you tell me? You like vampires?
Yeah.
Kind of vampires and spaceships.
Yeah. It's a strange mix, but the thing is that it's actually.
It doesn't seem like a strange mix, like from the outside to look at CCP. It looks like it's like the perfect fit, to be honest with you.
There's a lot of overlap. And especially we saw that, and we've seen it both at EVE FanFest and also when we were at the Grand Masquerade, is that there is a big overlap, and I think that's comes largely also from the live action like background of the entire White Wolf worlds, is that virtual worlds online, they aren't so unsimilar to live action role playing. They really aren't, and I saw that even strongly now when we had all the organizations down at the Grand Masquerade. It was pretty interesting.
Where do you go after this? Oh, actually, tell me about you had your speech this morning. What did you have a speech about?
I was on a panel. We were talking about how to operate our services for a long time, and we had a lot of panelists there that had been having virtual world for more than 5 years, and there's a lot of lessons learned there, and it went well. We went over actually too many topics, and we weren't quite able to squeeze everything in there.
And CCP has grown by leaps and bounds since like the past couple of years that I've known you. It's like when you guys were just doing Just Eve before the acquisition, how many you had the Iceland office? And
yeah. The thing is that Eve launched with about 40 people. That's all the way back in the beginning, 40 people were there. Then we merged with White Wolf later on, and we basically end up starting up with 3 offices. We're now up to 4 offices, with including Newcastle and with Atlanta and Shanghai, and then Reykjavik, of course. Now up to 600 people, and
640 to 600.
Yeah, it's been rapid growth, I can tell you that, and it's been really, really painful, and it's been straining all parts of the company, and we're now approaching a point where we have actually the amount of people on the development teams that we're getting happy with, and this is still at the same time, of course, that EVE has an immense team on it. It's one of the biggest development teams in the industry, and it's still growing and continue to be big for 10, 15, 20 years, or basically forever, until people stop playing, or actually some say that the world is going to end 2012, so maybe it's that point in time, but I think that we have an optimal size for each of the development teams, and up till now is that we've been really fortunate in how we actually develop games, which through like Agile and Scrum, is that it's been relatively easy for us to actually move individual teams to actually contribute between different projects. And of course, I mean, there's a lot of overlap in, for example, what we're doing with avatars is that technology has a large team, but I mean, a large part of that team is actually the core technology group, which creates core technology for all our games, and of course also from the Atlanta team, which is working on the World of Darkness. So I mean, it's often thought of that you know so many people are working on these other games, you're taking it away from me, but it's actually the other way around. And you know, this is actually internal corporate information, which companies usually wouldn't be talking about. But I'm like, we took those guys over there, and over there, and I guess I'm saying this because there is a huge misconception that these new games that we are going into is somehow going to be detrimental to EVE, because the thing is that in the end, it's been inspiring for the EVE team to see what's coming out of the other teams, and also of course we have a lot of technology that's shared, and we're taking immense leaps in terms of graphical technology and art assets and know-how, and I think the results is going to be amazing. It's a really difficult birth, but taking on the impossible hasn't really stopped us before, because this is what allows us to innovate and make something unique. And sure, I mean, I even saw the other day that we're doomed, and I went to YouTube and saw that FedEx trailer, like we're doomed. But I think that it's pretty interesting to be criticized for actually innovating and doing something new, and then of course you're doomed. So it's no wonder that the industry is often in a strange innovate but don't.
Well, that's what it seems like, is that everybody talks about innovation, but there's not many companies who are actually have the balls to kind of do it.
No, and if they do it, it's like, no, you're going to fail.
CCP, definitely, I've been saying forever, you're one of the few companies out there that like really do have the balls and kind of look at the entire industry, I think, from a different angle, and probably you come from that rock that you just kind of like. Yeah,
it's also that, I mean, we have gone through so much shit in these years to reach this point. And I mean, we've made a lot of mistakes. We've learned some, and we've repeated some mistakes, and that makes you learn them even harder. But at the same time, is that seeing these challenges simply make, at the end of the day, this whole thing much more fun and much more rewarding when you actually pull it off. And the thing is that CCP is in such a good position right now, is that even though we're developing 3 games, this is like future-proofing ourselves and diversifying, if you want to use that kind of language, right? But it's in no means like risking the company. EVE is huge, and we're putting a lot of love, work, and blood, sweat, tears, and fangs into EVE.
Actually,
we're doing great.
One more quick sort of technology question, just thought of, because you were saying how the character creation technology going into EVE is the same going for Walking in Stations. Is any of that also overlapping into Dust or World of Darkness?
Certainly. I mean, we apply a lot of the technology, and this is happening through this core group that we have, which works on all those fundamental components. And there's a lot of work there, which has been happening in the last years, which is it's intended to be reused and distributed. So when we are innovating in any of the titles, that actually becomes available to all the teams as it goes.
So do you think that it's going to help the timeline as far as shortening down of how far out we may see World of Darkness hit the shelf?
No, I don't think it's going to shorten the timeline. I think it's going to, not in the short term, but it's going to be to a point when we are with full infrastructure running, is that then after we have the entire framework up and running, you will see this innovation be much more rapid than before. Now, simply making all this new character technology was painful and took a long time. Moving all this stuff forward now and keeping it up to date and making it always awesome is going to be much easier.
Do you think we'll see World of Darkness on a console?
You're tricky. I have a lot of opinions, I can tell you those. But then, of course, they'd have to kill me afterwards. No, I think I can talk in terms of general strategy, and you're seeing us. What you're seeing us doing with the EVE universe as a whole, with Dust on console. We're now opening EVE Gate, which is kind of the leading the charge of opening the back end of Eve, so you can actually interact with it from other platforms. And we'll be going to more platforms, and these are fundamental corporate strategies. So
okay,
that's.
I don't think I'm going to get anything else out of him. I think I did a pretty good job trying to put Nathan Richardson, CCP, EVE Online. Check it out. Go to eveonline.com, of course. If you haven't checked out EVE, you have to check out EVE.
And check out the new character creator. It is pretty fucking amazing.
Yeah, it really is.
Sorry about that.
It's all right.
Okay.
G-show. Bleep him out. You're okay. You're Icelandic. You're a Viking. It's all right. You're allowed to swear. Pillage. Plunder.
That's why I'm in Austin.
Exactly. Check out eveonline.com. We'll all be waiting for Dust. Of course, World of Darkness. If you haven't checked out World of Darkness, there's some little video floating around on YouTube. You can check out with the back of the bald guy's head and shine it up. But it looks effing awesome. Nathan, thank you so much.
Thank you.
See you later.